Hello, everyone. My name is Lynn McEntee. I'm your host for Spotlight on Youth. We are a show through Youth for Change, and we're all about empowerment of youth and the future of tomorrow with our youth. Today, we have some lovely guests I'm really excited to introduce you to. They're going to be part of the Inclusive Youth Festival, and they are part of the guests on the show today. I'm really excited. So the first person I would like to introduce is Dabika Kanduga. And I'll just read her bio first, and then I'll go back to talking a little bit more about Youth for Change. So I'll just tell you right off the bat who Dabika is. Dabika Kanduga is 22 years old, and she's moved from New Delhi, India, to pursue music. Graduated from York University this past summer with a Bachelor of Fine Arts and specialized in jazz voice. Began a singing career at the age of 12 with Indian classical music, and then eventually moved on to contemporary popular music, and then studied jazz. A young musician is always focused primarily on that. First job in Toronto, raised funds for CAMH and the UN Refugee Agency. Took an opportunity to inspire young minds by teaching vocals to children during the quarantine, and started working for a fundraiser that raised funds for Toronto Arts Foundation, African Food Basket, and Black Women in Motion. That's a little bit about Davika, and I'll introduce you to our next guest, and we'll kind of jump around from there. So welcome to our show today.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you. Excited to host you today. Kiyomi Vegas is a singer and a pianist. So Kiyomi Vegas is an English and Spanish singer, pianist, and model. She has been teaching piano lessons since the age of 10 and competed in piano competitions, one of them being the Kiwanis Music Festival and Arts Festival at St. Catharines, in which she placed first. Vegas posts singing covers on Instagram. Many of the original artists of the songs give her likes, comments, and reposts. She's also models for many events, and one of them being Eco Fashion Show. Vegas loves to perform and entertain people. Music is in my soul, air quotes. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It is so great to host both of you today, and I'll just tell our viewers a little bit about Spotlight on Youth. So we are all about empowerment, and some of our core themes. Youth for Change is dedicated to improving the quality of life for youth by enriching them with learning activities that are sustainable and networking, team building skills, character building, mind, body, balance, and communication skills. We also foster cultural environments where artistic talent can thrive, educate and promote cultural exchanges between businesses, community, and youth members, and unite cultural groups by providing opportunities to share their art, culture, and heritage. You can reach Youth for Change on Instagram at Youth for Change Canada, at Youth for Change Organization on Facebook, Youth for CA on Twitter, and YouTube is Youth for Change. Our website, of course, is youthforchange.ca, and you can always reach me, Lynn, at youthforchange.ca. If you have an idea for a show, we'd always be happy to hear from you if you'd like to participate in any way. So let's start out the discussion. I'll start with Dabika for a moment. Dabika, tell us a little bit about you.
For sure, yeah. So my name is Viveka Konduja, and I actually moved here from India 4 years ago to pursue music. And it came as a big shock to my parents. They were just like, wow, music, what are you going to do? We're so concerned for you. But I think it turned out fine. So far, so good. I graduated with a Bachelor of Fine Arts, specialized in jazz voice, as you mentioned before. And so since then, in quarantine, I've just been working with a fundraising organization, and we raised funds for the Toronto Arts Foundation, Black Women in Motion. And I've just been focusing a lot on what kind of impact do I want to have with my art? And that's just been one of my thoughts and something that I've been going through. Yeah. So far, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for the quick intro. I really appreciate that. And that gets the conversation. I'll jump over to Kiyomi for a moment. And Kiyomi, if you could tell us a little bit about you before we jump into other areas of conversation.
Okay, so I'm Kiyomi Vegas, and I'm from St. Catharines, Ontario. I'm currently taking a year off. So yeah, I'm taking the year off because I wasn't sure of what to study next. And because I didn't know if I should study music or to become a nutritionist. So I'm taking this year off to like discover like what I really want to do, like be sure of what I want to become in the future. And like I definitely want to be a famous singer, so I'm going to study music next year.
Kiyomi, I love that. I have great admiration for that, that you're figuring it out. You're sort of halting the wheels for a moment and then figuring out the next steps and the paths that you'd like to take. Wow, that's amazing. That's good for our viewers and listeners as well, so they realize that maybe perhaps that's happening with them at this moment, and it's totally to be figuring out the next steps.
Yeah.
Pause. Thank you for that. Davika, if you don't mind, I'm just going to jump around with some questions here. And you said that you were from New Delhi as well, and your parents were quite shocked in the program that you're entering into. And I imagine that they're probably very proud of you in this process right now. When did you first show interest in the arts from a young age?
Yeah, so it all started when I was 7 years old.
Oh.
Yeah, I actually started with piano lessons, and like soon I realized that I liked singing more than playing piano. So my parents thought, okay, you know what, we'll just do singing lessons. And that's when I started with Indian classical music. I did that for about 4 to 5 years. And I quickly moved on to contemporary pop and rock. And I did that for quite a few years until grade 12. And then I decided I want to actually take this forward, which is when I decided to come to Canada and pursue jazz.
Wow, so it started from a very young age. That's interesting.
A very young age.
Oh, for sure. And if I could kind of tag into that for a moment, driving force behind that, was there someone in your life that sort of drove you in that direction?
I feel like it was definitely a mix of a lot of things. I want to say my father really pushed me, even though this is not something academic, not something traditional in India specifically. My father and my mother, they were so supportive. And even my friend who was actually doing playing drums and pop and rock at that time, she pushed me to start taking lessons. So it was like a mix of everything. And even like, I think what kept me going all those years was the fact that music really meant a lot to me. It was just a way to like escape the teen angst that I had. So every time I was going through my angry teenager phase, I would just go lock myself in a little room and just sing for like hours. It didn't matter what I was singing. It just mattered that I was engaging in music, which made all the difference. It just offered me respite from whatever was going on.
Wow, I love the way you said that. That's for sure, discovering yourself along the way. Very
Definitely.
cool. That is awesome. Kiyomi, would you mind if I asked you the same question, then we'll kind of bounce around? So then when did you first show an interest in music? Thank you so much, Viveka and Kiyomi. And when did you first show an interest in the arts or music in general? And we'll start there.
Well, since a very young age, I've loved to perform in front of people. So when I was about 8 years old, I've been part of the church choir, and yeah, my church choirs, and I've been doing that for a lot of years. But I decided that I wanted to become a famous singer and like have that as a career was when I did my first communion. My mom asked me if I could sing a song and perform in front of like my guests, the audience. And that was actually like my first performance, like doing it by myself. And I was like 10 years old. That was when I decided I wanted to be a famous singer. So yeah, it started when I was like 10 years old.
Wow. So quite a moment in time for you then, doing your communion and also discovering yourself in that capacity. That's very frightening for some, but also very invigorating as well.
Yeah, it was something different because I was used to singing with a choir with a bunch of people, but like this time it was on my own, and I liked it because I like making people have fun and watching them enjoy what I do, what I sing.
Oh, that's beautiful as well. Was there a driving force, another person? Was the choir the driving force then, perhaps? Or was there a particular person in your life that sort of helped
Um, that helps me.
Yeah, or sort of pushed you in that direction to discover music?
Oh, well, I don't know, cause like my parents, they aren't like musicians or anything. I don't know. It's me, like for my whole family that has like who's musical, but yeah, I don't know. Well, my mom helps me. She supports me, but that's I don't know, something I
Is there a
do.
music? Was there a music teacher in your life? I know for myself it was a music teacher, and I'll never forget him. He was absolutely awesome, and just turned that light bulb on, and oof, it felt so good.
Oh, well, yeah, I have a piano teacher. She helps me a lot. Yeah, she gives me ideas. Yes.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And might I ask then, this is for anybody who maybe doesn't read music out there, when did you learn to read music? I'll start with Dabika.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I think I started learning how to read music when I started doing contemporary pop and rock. That was about at the age of 12. It was
Up to,
definitely very challenging at first.
I
Like
wondered
a
about
long,
that.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. It was a lot, but made it through.
Do you mind if can you describe that process for anybody that is looking to get into that, or maybe their children perhaps, and encouraging their children to do that? Do you think you could be a performer without reading music?
I definitely could be a performer without reading music. There's a lot of people out there, a lot of artists out there who use their ear and they're just musical enough that they don't need anything else. But I just feel like since like Kiyomi, the only musical background I had, like I'm the only musical person in my family as well. So
That's
I
so
didn't, yeah. So when I grew up, it's not like I had a lot of music going around me. It was just me, which is why I feel for me, reading music was an essential step in getting to where I am right now.
Wow, thank you. And so about 12, did you say?
12, yes.
12, that's interesting. What about
Mhm.
yourself, Kiyomi? For reading music, are you a reading music performer?
Yes, I am, because I
Yes.
play the piano. Yeah. I
Yeah.
started I started when I was 10 years old, and I still take piano lessons.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I was also part of Chorus Niagara's children's choir for 2 years. So they also taught me how to read music.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And for anybody else who's maybe looking to have their children get into it, would you recommend it at a certain age, or do you need to evolve a little bit before getting into the reading music component?
Um, oh, sorry, me? Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I would recommend young kids to learn how to read music. I find that important because that way they can understand like the different rhythms, the different notes, and be like more accurate on like their singing. Yeah, I find that important.
Thank
Definitely.
you.
If I just may chime in, I think it also helps with like visualizing it because then you have something written on paper and then it's more like a language. Just like in
Yeah.
English, you have words that you put together and you string together and it's a word. You know how to pronounce it. So it's the same with music, I would say.
Yes.
And universal language.
Uh-huh.
Definitely.
I love that. That's awesome. Thank you. Um, wow, I'll go back to Davika for a moment. When did you realize your gift of multi-instrumentalism?
Yeah. So the irony in that question is that I am mainly a singer, and I feel like I actually started learning how to play an instrument much later in my career. I wish I would have started earlier, but yeah, I would say I started learning how to play piano and guitar about 4 years ago. And that was actually motivated once I realized and embraced the gift of singing. Once I realized, oh my God, this is actually something that I've been blessed with. This is actually something I want to take to the next level. So what can I do to upskill myself as a musician and become a more holistic musician? So yeah, it's very ironic, but so the gift of singing led me to learn instruments. And yeah, I'm still learning. I would say I'm at an intermediate level, but I'm working on it.
That's incredible. That's really amazing. So remind us again, remind the viewers and listeners. So you sing, you play piano.
And guitar at about a basic to intermediate level. And I'm teaching myself.
Wow, that's incredible. So it can be done for anyone out there who's watching us today.
100%, 100%. If you have the motivation, if you show up for yourself and your art and what you've decided to do, it's definitely achievable.
I like that. Show up for yourself. We ourselves, right? Yeah. Kiyomi, what about yourself? When did you discover that about you? So remind us what you're a singer and performer. Remind us about your multi-instrumentalism. Things, correct?
Pardon?
You do a few things, if I recall.
Yes, I play the piano, I sing, I also play the ukulele, which is an instrument that I learned on my own, and I dance.
Right.
Yeah. But
Wow.
so I figured out that I could play the piano and sing at the same time. When I was at piano lessons, we usually have recitals, like every spring recital and a Christmas recital. So for a Christmas recital, I decided to sing and play the piano at the same time. I thought it was going to be a challenge, and my teacher thought it was going to be a challenge too. But no, it turned out being easy. Yeah, it's something I can do. It's a gift.
Wow. So how old were you when you did that?
When I could do it?
Yes, when you realized you could. Yeah.
I think that was 11. Yeah, 1 year after. Yes.
That's neat. How rooting is that? We were talking about before we started the show today. We're talking about just yourself as a performer. How did you find that rooted you once you discovered you could do that? I'll go with so I'll go with Kiyomi because we're still on the conversation. So when you discovered you could do the multitasking, did that help you as a performer to balance yourself, to feel grounded, to feel rooted?
Wait, sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sure, yeah, for sure. When you realized that you could sing and you could perform piano or other things, ukulele, multitasking in performing, did that help you as a performer? Did you discover yourself more? Did you find more of a calm about yourself as a performer?
Yeah, I discovered myself more. Yeah, totally, because I figured out I could do more than one thing at a time. I could like show my audience like my different abilities. And I find that audiences like it when like the performer can do more than one thing at a time. So like sing and dance. Like I find that entertaining when I watch an artist do like more than one thing at a time.
Thank you. And Davika? Yeah, what about yourself? Do you find it rooting as a performer to know that you can do these things?
Definitely. It really pushes your confidence because you're doing so many things at the same time, and you think it'd be overwhelming. It is overwhelming. But once you get into it, I guess Kiyomi could also second to that. I think once you start getting into it, it's all about just feeling it. Because after a point, you're not thinking too much, you're just feeling it. If you're thinking too much, you can be thinking about 10 different things at the same time. It's not possible. So after a point, I think it's a lot about just feeling it.
Yeah, you feel it. Like, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm pretty sure like 11-year-old you who just sat on the piano and sang did not even know what it meant to be thinking about 10 different things at the same time. You just went for it. You took the plunge and it worked out for you.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah, it's really beautiful when you think about it.
It is. It's like a flower unfolding, really. You know? all of these wonderful skills. And then you cross that over to your education as well, all of these skills that you're learning and aspects of your life. Could you speak to that as a student? Then also, Devika, if we could stay on you for a moment. As a student, how did you feel that that helped you in other areas of your curriculum?
Yeah, honestly, one thing that I found really interesting and helpful was so there was a whole phase, and I'm still doing it, but I was at one point focusing a lot on ear training. So just training my ear to hear certain things in music. And I feel that that helped me a lot in terms of, so my pitch memory basically translated to me being able to memorize anything I heard. So if I was in a lecture, let's say at school, and my prof was saying something, if I was paying attention, I knew that it would be embedded in my memory for a while. And that was, honestly, I have to thank music for that, because I got used to like dedicated listening, because there's dedicated listening, active listening as we call it, and then there's passive listening. So just being able to distinguish between that. And I feel like other skills that I really need to thank music for is self-confidence. Just because I started as a teenager who couldn't even like go on stage and sing, but now every time I talk, I feel like I can actually list public speaking as one of my strong skills. So yeah, I think those two things were really helpful.
Wow, no, thank you very, very much. Appreciate that. Kiyomi, yourself as a student, how has that helped you?
Yes, I do agree with what Davika said. It does give you a lot of strong confidence. It like now I'm more used to like speaking in front of public. Like I don't get the nerves a lot. It's like easier now because of so many like presentations. Yes. But as a student, it has also, music has helped me. So when I had like an exam or a test, I would get very nervous or stressed out, but I would take some short breaks and play the piano or sing, and it like opens my mind. It gets me ready to like start studying again. Yes, I find it very important.
Lovely.
So like, sorry. So like a
Oh,
stress
please.
reliever, right?
Yes, it is a stress reliever.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yes.
that's beautiful. I love the way you describe it, and I can feel your heart and passion when you're talking about you as individuals, as performers. It's awesome. It's great for our viewers and listeners. I wondered if you can remember the first time the nerves were not there, as let's say for public speaking, for example, when you first thought, you know what, I can do this. I really can do this. When did that happen for you? When did you realize, oh, all of these other skills are helping me? Davika?
Yeah, for sure. So as I mentioned, I actually did raise funds for UNHCR, which is the Human Refugee Agency, and CAMH. The way that went down was I would actually go door to door and door-to-door canvassing. And every time someone opened a door, I had to come up with the same amount of energy, the same amount of enthusiasm about what I'm talking about. So they just listened to me. And I think when I was doing that, my first door that I hit was very stressful. And by the 10th door, I realized that, wow, I can actually do this, because this is basically like performing. You show up and with the same amount of enthusiasm, and it's basically like a little piece where I'm talking. I'm not singing, but I'm using the same amount of skills. I'm using the same amount of confidence, enthusiasm, diction. So it's a similar amount of things that I have to focus on. And I think that's when I realized, wow, like this is really translating into something more.
That's very cool. Thank you. Kiyomi, what about yourself? That light bulb moment where like, oh, this is very cool. It's really helping me. I had no idea.
Yes. Well, when I sing, I don't feel nervous or anxious or anything. I feel like I'm floating. It's like,
Wow.
yeah, I don't get like nervous or anything. But when I'm going to like introduce the song, yes, I kind of get nervous. And so like you have to introduce every song you sing, right? And so that has helped me. Well, in elementary and high school, I had to do speeches. And so like knowing how to introduce a song in front of people, which is not singing, it's talking, that helped me do speeches during school and not feel nervous, because doing it so many times during performances, it was more, yeah, I was kind of I was getting used to it, to talking in front of big crowds.
Hmm. And when could you describe introducing a song for maybe somebody who doesn't know? What does that entail, Kiyomi?
Introducing a song.
Yeah.
So if it's a song about love, a love story or something like that, I would connect it with like a personal story. And sometimes when I connect it with my personal story, a lot of others have felt or like gone through the same thing. So it like puts them in the feeling of like the song. So like it prepares the audience for what this song is going to be about.
Thank you. Dabika, same?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
usually whenever you announce the title of a song before you're about to sing it, you usually mention the song title, the composer, and it's always great. I think that's a really great idea to relate that song, the song's meaning, to your own life or to a personal story, because that adds that little personal touch and it's a way of like connecting to the audience. I think that's a really good idea. I don't do something like that, but that's great. I just learn new things every day.
Yeah.
Very cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, it's interesting to hear how what preps people before they go on. Is there something that you do Devika, before you get ready to perform?
100%. I always like to take some time for myself. So essentially, I would not be talking to anyone. It's just gonna be me, myself, and I. And I'm gonna just get myself together, take a deep breath, do a few breathing exercises, tell myself I've been there before. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there again. It's gonna be beautiful. And I am actually, like Kiyomi said, she's not a nervous performer. I am a nervous performer. I'm always so nervous before my performances, but I think it keeps me attentive. It keeps me alert, which I like it. So I appreciate being nervous. I won't trade anything for that. But it's always important to remind yourself how you would feel after the performance. That always helps. Just like imagining that once it's done and you've aced everything that you worked hard for, it's going to be so worth it. So that's something I always do. Yes.
Oh, that's a great target. the aftermath.
The aftermath, exactly.
And then Kiyomi, would you say the same then? Are there any other strategies? I know you spoke about it a bit, but is any other strategies you use before you before you go on to perform?
Well, I put the sign of the cross and I pray to Saint Cecilia, which is the saint of music. And yeah, she's my saint from confirmation. And like right before I go on stage, I like start dancing, I scream, and then I go on to like get the nerves out of me. Yeah. Then I just go on stage and I'm like, good, I'm ready to go.
Wow. And would that be the same if you're playing piano? No.
Well, during a rehearsal, like the room is quiet, so no, I can't yell. But I do pray in like my insides though.
Yes, they're center, right?
Yes.
Oh, that's really neat. I've heard that from others before, other performers, and also myself being a performer. Right? There are moments you just have to have that moment, me, myself, and I, to have that preparatory before
Definitely. But it's so interesting to see how even though the overall concept is the same, but everyone has different processes to it.
Yes.
Very
Yeah, that's
interesting.
true. No, very much so. Do you find that changes as you age? Or, so for example, if you're an 11-year-old getting ready to perform, do you just go full scale, or, is there any trepidation as opposed to being a 22-year-old or a 19-year-old?
Interesting question. I feel like it might change. It depends how you change as an artist. For me, it's always been the same. For me, it's always been about taking time out for myself, giving myself a little pep talk. But yeah, what about you? What do you think, Kiyomi, that has changed for you as you grew up?
Well, no, it has stayed the same as well. But like, I've also learned how to like, well, that warming up vocally is very important. So like, I do that now before singing too. So I don't just pray, but I also need to like warm up my vocal cords. That has changed.
Now, may I ask, does that change for you both as you do your performing on the road? So if you have to travel and then prepare to perform, does that change for you? Stay with Kiyomi for a moment and then I'll go back to Dabika.
Yes. Well, if I'm like traveling somewhere and I'm like on the car or something like that, I do vocal warm-ups. I turn on the radio, I sing along with like the singers that sing the song. I drink a lot of water to keep my vocal cords hydrated. And yeah, I like talk to myself.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, it's good. As me, myself, and I, we're there, right?
Meditate, yes.
Absolutely. And Davika, yourself?
Yeah,
You were
for sure.
water before we started recording. You talked about hydrating is very important, but yourself?
Yeah, definitely. I think vocal health right before you perform is extremely important. It's important on any given day, but the day you're supposed to perform, you need your voice to be at its best. So yeah, for that, having water helps. Doing warm-ups helps. I do that too, and also just not talking too much. I feel like we were talking about that before we started.
Yeah.
Not talking too much because that's exertion for your vocal cords too. We don't realize it. But yeah, definitely. Another thing that one of my instructors actually mentioned to me was something very interesting. She said we should pay attention to like where our speaking voice is. It's like if we're speaking way down below, which is what I do sometimes, which is what she was calling me out for. She's like, oh, you should try to talk up here because that helps because your vocal cords aren't always stressed. So it's very interesting. Yeah, little things that we don't think about make all the difference.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's
Yeah. Mhm.
There you go. I love that exchange there. That's awesome. Then if I could just go back to you, Devika, for a moment, just look at an 11-year-old performer as opposed to a 19 or 22-year-old in terms of prep. What could be the difference there? Why is it different?
I think the difference would actually be something that Kiyomi pointed out as well, just like how my warm-ups have evolved. I think the pep talk is still the same. I think the 22-year-old me needs the same level of consolation that the 11-year-old me needed. but but I think the warm-ups have definitely evolved because now I know since I teach now, so I understand my voice better. I understand the anatomy better. So I know what's required of me that day. So how do I need to train it? Today, am I going to be singing a lot of songs? So am I going to need stamina? Or am I just going to be singing a few songs where I'm going to squeeze in all of my energy? So just thinking in terms of that. And also one thing that has changed in my warm-ups is so now I do whole body singing. As a child, it was more about just singing from the throat, just making sure voice is coming out of my mouth. But now it's all about posture. It's about where my breathing, where my tongue is, where my mouth is. Do I have shoulder tension? So I also like warm up my body a little. Like I'll stretch. I'll make sure my body is loose and calm, because that's super important too. Since our whole body is an instrument, we have to warm up every little muscle.
Kayumi, is there anything you wanted to add to that before we move to another question?
Yes, usually during like when I practice for a performance, I plan what I'm going to do and like try to manage like the time and not like dance and sing at the same time a lot because I will get tired, like I will run out of breath. So yeah, you need to like plan before the show, manage your time.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. Could you tell us about your dancing? What type of dancing do you do?
Well, I do like Spanish dancing, so like salsa, bachata. Yeah. So when I sing in Spanish, I usually like dance along.
Beautiful. For anybody who doesn't know out there, bachata, what is bachata? And they can maybe tune into that or check it out, do a search on it. Yeah, what type of style?
Do you want me to explain?
Yeah, for anybody who's not familiar with it. Yeah.
Oh, I love bachata. It's romantic and like a nice tropical swing.
Nice. Very
Yeah.
cool. And how long have you been dancing then?
I used to take dance lessons when I was like very young. But I still continue to dance, but like on my own. I do Zumba, like to practice. Yes, I've been dancing since I was 5.
Oh, so it's part of your
Yeah.
core.
Yeah, I
That is
love to
awesome.
dance.
That's so cool. For anybody, any young people who may want to get into dance, would there be anything that, say, a 5-year-old, for example, or someone even younger, a parent may be interested in putting their children in a program? Anything you would recommend at that age for them to start on, to dabble in and experiment?
Yes, I do recommend dancing because it's a very good, it's a sport. And also it's good for your mind. It opens up your mind as well. It's another like stress reliever. Yeah, and it's good to know how to dance too.
Absolutely. Sometimes no words spoken, just be in the space together, and music takes us there, and dance.
Yeah.
Right? Awesome. Very cool. In terms of other performances, other types of performing that you do, and I'll jump over to Davika in a moment, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to speak about your other types of performing. Could you tell us a bit about that as well?
Well, wait, like what I
So
do for fun?
yeah, for performance. So if you're playing piano, what type of music do you play? Perhaps maybe your target audience. Is there a target audience, or is it just everyone, that kind of thing?
Well, I like to play classical piano music. Yes, I find it very nice. I like playing classical piano music more than pop because it's more difficult. It's more like something I have to like work harder to be able to play it perfectly. But like I find pop music easier to play, so I kind of don't like playing that on the piano. But I do like singing pop music, and in Spanish I like to sing too. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. Davika, could you tell us the types of performing that you do? You mentioned jazz, Indian classical music as well, but I'd love it if you could expand on it for our listeners and viewers. Walk us through it a little bit on what types of performing you do, maybe your audience. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So before I actually came here, I was a lot into performing pop music. And then I started studying jazz, and I realized the importance of using music to tell stories, which is one thing I really love about jazz. I am, of course, focusing on performing jazz, but I also really love R&B music. That's also, I think that also as a genre focuses a lot on telling stories. And yeah, so I think I'm focusing on pop, R&B, and jazz music at the moment.
And do you feel the classical training that you had has helped you while you're focusing on this right now?
Definitely. I think Indian classical music helped me gain a certain, even though it was only for 5 years and my majority of training was in pop music and jazz, but it's still, I would say that it helped me gain control over my voice. And yeah, especially with breathing, because Indian classical music has a lot of slurs, a lot of melismas, and they really help you to like control your voice. Especially Hindi as a language is very phonetically beautiful. We have in the Hindi alphabet, we have an alphabet for every single phonetic sound. So it's very like diction is extremely important. And to get proper diction, you need proper breathing. So I think all these things together help me become a better singer for sure.
Would you recommend that for someone if someone wanted to try it at a very young age, a parent wanted to enroll their child in Indian classical training? Would you recommend that?
Definitely, I would definitely recommend it. It's always great to have, I think as a musician, as a holistic musician, it's always important to you can never know too much. You can never learn too much. There's always something new to learn, something new to do. And it's good that you're expanding your repertoire and what you've learned. Because even though it's music, everything's music, but it's when you look at it more deeply, it's very different. Every little style of music has its own little intricate thing that will add on to you as a musician.
Do you write your own material?
At the moment, I'm not writing my own material. That is something that I am going to be focusing on 2021. I just wanted to take the time out this year to focus on what I want to do with my music. I want it to be very intentional, but what do I want to do with it? So that's something I'm going to be focusing on this year and next year. I am definitely going to be starting to compose my own music. I'm excited for it.
We are too. Could you remind us again of the intent? I love how you say intentional. So what is your intention then, let's say over the next year for you as a performer, but as music?
Yeah, definitely. So when I talk about it being intentional, it again kind of takes its inspiration from jazz. Jazz is very intentional. Every song, every tune has a purpose of telling a story. And that's how I want my music to be. I want my music to be able to take its listener on a journey. And I just don't know what that journey is going to be yet. I'm trying to figure that out as a 22-year-old just starting out. What's that journey going to be like? What do I want my listeners to feel when they listen to my music? And is it going to be a representation of how I feel? Is it going to be a representation of what's going on in the world right now? Because there's a lot going in the world right now. So just all those questions.
Thank you. Appreciate that very much. I'm just going to jump around a little bit here to when we talk about children and access to arts education. From your perspectives, both of you actually, do you feel children should have access to arts education? And if so, why? And I'll go over to Kiyomi for a moment, give you a chance to take a talking break as well, Davika. And if you don't mind, Kiyomi, do you feel children should have access to arts education? One?
Yes, they should have access to arts education because it's a way that there are many kids that don't express themselves to parents or to like people older than them. They might be feeling stress or anger or other emotions like that. And knowing art, for example, drawing, if a kid that has those emotions and if a kid has those emotions and doesn't like express them to their parents, art like drawing is a way that they can express their emotions and like get that emotion out of their body. Also, singing could be a way to get your bad emotions out of your body, and also good emotions like happy. If you play like the piano, an instrument, or dance, like you can like express that, like get that out of your body and show everyone that you're happy. So yeah, I think that art is important for kids. Yes.
Thank you. Davika, yourself, and how important is art education? Because you're teaching right now, so you can speak to that perhaps.
Definitely. I think it's really, really important because it not only helps children to express, like Kiyomi said, it unlocks their creative side. And it also helps with cognitive development in a very different manner. I think it's passive learning. We don't realize it because it goes unnoticed. But like something as simple as drama classes, I think they help with like teamwork, confidence, expression, of course. And learning a musical instrument, you're learning guitar at a very young age, it's helping with your motor skills. Visual arts helps you with numeric skills. And I think like these things really go unnoticed because people think, oh, it's just something fun for children to do. Well, it is something enjoyable for children to do. That's the best part, but you also get bonus skills out of it. And I think it's really important for holistic education.
As you have become a teacher, how have you changed as a performer?
For sure. I think that's a really good question. I think my children, my students inspire me to do better, to be better, because it's so beautiful that I can use my people skills and my music skills and just combine them together to just change how a child perceives music. I have the power to inspire them and instill passion in them, which I think is really beautiful. It honestly means the world to me. Every time a student leaves the room, I'm like, wow, I really hope I could instill even an ounce of the amount of passion I have instill in them. And I just hope that they can imbibe it. And it also makes you think about little things simply, just like simplifying and breaking down big concepts for children and teaching it to them really makes you think about, wow, how can I think about this from a point of view of an 11-year-old? What would make them understand it? Especially like music theory, rhythm, how do I break it down? And I think that's what makes me, it gives me an added perspective towards music. That's how it's helped me as a performer.
Wow, thank you very much. That's awesome. About yourself, Kiyomi? Are you able to teach? Are you in the teaching mode right now? Are you?
No, I don't teach. I've never
teach?
taught before, but that could be something I can do in the future.
Oh yeah.
But no, that's not like my main goal right now to be a teacher for music. My main goal right now is to be a famous singer and travel to different countries and show my talent and entertain people and watch everyone have fun.
That's really neat. Thank you. My background is also teaching as well, and I do appreciate and drama. So I do appreciate the reference to and teaching that at a very young age and how that carries you through life. All of these wonderful skills. We all have a toolkit that we use. We all keep the toolkit with us, but we sharpen the tools at different times in our lives, right?
That's a beautiful analogy.
Yeah, and it's just wonderful. We keep ourselves open to these possibilities, all the wonderful things we can learn and grow together. I'm just going to go into a different, sort of a different question as we move on a bit. You guys are awesome. I'm just so much from you, and I'm just so thrilled to be here with you today. So I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Of course, thank you. So excited to be here.
Thank you. What are some of the core skills you carry with you from Arts Immersion and other parts of life? We've talked about it a little bit, but as an adult, for example, going into the job market, what are some of those skills you have? Yes, for sure. Public speaking is one of them, but some other core skills. Who would like to take that first?
Wait, I'm sorry. I kind of didn't hear the question.
That's okay. What are some of the core skills, let's say into adulthood, that you carry with you as a performer, as a musician, etc.? How do they help you in other parts of your life, whether it be in your profession, your home life, your community, etc.? Dabika, do you want to take that one first?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, it's helped with public speaking. And also I've been giving a lot of interviews because everyone's got to look for a job. Everyone's got to pay bills. So I think that it's helped me with giving interviews a lot, just because I just literally, before going into an interview, the pep talk I give to myself before going on stage, it's very similar. I'm just like, I can do this. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be like a performance. Just smile and talk about yourself. And I think it's really helped with that. So just confidence to be able to talk to a complete stranger and be able to convince them that they should be paying you by the end of the interview. That's obviously the goal. Yeah, for sure. I think that's something super important. And the other thing is just multitasking, just doing a lot of things and thinking of a lot of things at the same time. It's helped with that a lot. I'm sure Kiyomi can relate to that as well, considering she's been playing and singing since such a young age.
Thank you, Dabika. That's the first thing I thought of was multitasking. That's crossover is key for sure. Kiyomi?
Yes, it has helped with multitasking. It also helps. So since I'm able to do singing and dancing and playing the piano at the same time, it also helps me be able to multitask during school, like for schoolwork or like my daily chores or stuff like that. I'm able to like multitask more. It has also helped me with memorization, because a lot of times I have to memorize, like, for example, song lyrics or piano pieces. So like that has also helped me memorize speeches that I did at school, because I'm able to memorize stuff more easily.
If you were to try and teach that skill, let's say to another adult like yourselves, how could you teach that? Is that something that crosses over?
Teach how to memorize?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. For me, it's easy to memorize. Yeah, I don't find that challenging.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about yourself? Is that a skill you could teach, memorization?
It's very interesting because I spoke about like pitch memory before and how that translated into being able to memorize other things. I almost did teach it to myself. Because I realized that this is something I can do, like being able to listen to things and then imbibe it instead of spending time writing it or reading it. So what I would do is, it's a very different process, but what I would do is I would just read my notes. I would read them out loud. I record myself speaking it. And then I just listened to it, like repetition. So it was like I was exercising that pitch memory. Whatever part of my brain was used while I was memorizing pitches was the same part of my brain that was used for memorizing my notes. So it was really nice. I think if I had to teach that to someone, I would definitely start with pitch memory. Being able to, like, what that means when I say pitch memory again and again is me, let's say I'm playing something, I'm playing a few notes, and you're able to sing it back to me as it is. So that's melodic recall. You're recalling what I just played, and then you being able to remember it over a longer period of time. That would be pitch memory. So just using that.
Thank you. Do you mind if I ask, do you have like a little riff or something that you might say to your students, or to have them repeat back, for example? Do you have a sound? Yeah,
for sure. So it usually would only be random notes strung together. It could be something as simple as boo boo doo doo. So just someone singing that back to me would be, oh, okay, you recalled it, you know, and then if in 5 minutes they can still remember it, that's great.
Very cool.
That's pitch memory.
Kiyomi, any pitch memory for yourself?
Well, I was actually going to talk about muscle memory.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah, since I play piano, I've discovered that when I practice a lot the same piece, like after practicing it a lot, I'm able to play it without looking at the notes. So I believe that's muscle memory. Yeah.
Very nice.
So like you're so used to playing the same thing over and over again, your brain, your fingers start to like get used to it and remembering it.
Yeah, for sure. So many times when I'm playing a piece on the piano, I don't remember what it looks like. If I started to read it again, it would take me longer to figure it out versus if I just started playing it. I know. True. It's very interesting. And it's the same as how some people can type on keyboards without looking. So that's muscle memory too.
That's muscle memory.
Yeah, I know. It's very interesting. For sure.
That's really
fascinating.
Cool. It is. It's so fascinating. I'm impressed. You know how the brain works. It's amazing.
Definitely.
If you were to cross that over, let's say, for example, with an Alzheimer's patient, and how that's often something people will remember later in life is how to play the piano. They'll remember that ballet piece that they performed. How profound is that? Do you have an interest in working with seniors? Let's say, for example, if you're teaching, Dabika, would that be something that you'd be interested in doing in the future?
It's so great that you asked that, because that's been something I've been asking myself. I did take a music therapy class in school in university, and it really opened my eyes to all of these benefits of music that I did not realize. And this is something we actually spoke about Alzheimer's, and how so many Alzheimer patients who can't even recognize their own family relatives, when they're played a song that was a part of a milestone in their lives, they remember the song, which is crazy because they can't even recognize their family. But as soon as you make them listen to a song that was a part of their lives, they are singing to it. So how are they remembering it? So it's pretty insane. Yeah, for sure. That's definitely something I'd love to get into. Or even just singing helps with a lot of respiratory illnesses.
Yeah.
Because it's breathing, and even with rehabilitation of people. So just like if someone's walking, so studies show that when you play a piece of music, if it's 60 beats per minute, your heart will automatically synchronize your heartbeat. Your heart rate will synchronize to the music speed. So just helping with walking, people who had tough time walking, knee replacement surgeries. Actually helped my mother with that when she had her knee replacement surgery. We just play music and then she'd walk at that pace. And that's how she kind of like rehabilitated her walking. It was beautiful.
It's beautiful, the description even. What about yourself, Kiyomi, in terms of dance? How do you see that crossing over? Perhaps, would you like to, as a performer, perform for seniors, for example, who may be in a stage of their life where they need a rekindling of memory?
Of course.
Oh.
Yes. I a lot of times sing and dance old songs, so that to like, because I feel that it's important to not forget about the seniors, to also share with them like my talent. And so like I like performing in front of them songs of like their times, like old songs. And yeah, that makes them happy. And I feel happy too to see that they're enjoying and remembering like maybe like moments they had with that song.
Oh, it's so profound. It's so very, very cool, very profound. May I ask then about singing and performing perhaps in another language? And as we speak about it, and be mindful of our seniors as well, because that is an important component to keep, to value as they move into the senior part of their lives. And youth and performing in other languages, what is that like? Do you want to go, Kiyomi, and then I'll go back to Dabika? Performing in other languages as a singer, dancer, or
it's different because like the Latin music is like more quicker, I feel, and like a lot of more dancing, but like English music too. But like the type of Spanish music I sing, it's like very fun, energetic. So yeah.
What type of Spanish? For anybody who doesn't know you, they're just getting to know you as we're talking today. What type of Spanish music? Because there are lots of Spanish music around the world. What do you like to focus on?
I like to focus on, in Spanish it's called baladas. So it's ballads. It's like ballads, yes. I like singing that type of music, but I also enjoy singing, for example, salsa, which is something they also have to dance along with. Yeah, I like multitasking.
We could learn a lot from that. That's awesome. Oh, thank you. Thanks very much. Dabika, what about performing in other languages? What does that feel like?
It's definitely it's a great feeling because you're adapting yourself. So you're adapting yourself to, for example, when you're Kiyomi, when you're singing in Spanish or dancing in Spanish, then you're adapting yourself to the kind of aesthetic that Spanish music has.
Yeah.
It's the same with me when I sing, let's say if I sing Bollywood music, which is in Hindi, and I'm adapting myself to that aesthetic, to those rhythms, to that kind of diction. So it's really nice how you're just like wearing different hats as a musician or as an artist, and you're just adapting to whatever the language requires you to adapt to. It's a nice feeling for sure.
And empowering as a performer, I would believe, right?
100%, very empowering.
Reaching many more people. Yeah.
Yes, many more people.
That's very, very cool. That's amazing. I'm just going to carry on with some more questions here. Thank you so much. Oh, I have a question actually, just so it's spontaneous. Dabika, if you don't mind, performing in India as a performer, as opposed to performing here, you have changed as a performer since you've been studying. When was the last time you were able to perform in India?
Sure, it's actually been a while since I performed. I think it was last year I performed, and it was actually a fundraiser, raising funds for a flood relief fund in Assam. Yeah, it was actually it was for a good cause, and it was a great feeling to go back home and perform on stage for a different kind of audience in a different language. And yeah, it was great. Honestly, I want to say, I'm trying to think of the differences of performing in India and performing here, but I can't really think of differences because music.
Yeah.
Every audience is there to listen to you and just connect with you. So it's really, yeah, it's always a good feeling to be on stage and
Isn't
see
it?
how it's a great feeling, and to see how you connect to people, even though there's this whole, like, I think in theater they talk about a fourth wall. There's this fourth wall between you and the audience, but you just have to like break it, and you have to somehow connect with them, whether it's by telling personal stories like Kiyomi was gonna do, or it's just making eye contact, little things. But it's nice. It's always
Yeah.
such a great feeling.
Very cool. Kiyomi, would you say the same? Performing in another part of the world is different, or as for you as a performer?
Well, it could be different because in every part of the world there's different cultures, different languages, different people. So yeah, you kind of like adapt, I guess, to like to the audience. I think you kind of like feel their energy. Yeah.
It's the heartbeat of our communities, right? We are connecting, from one heart to another. That's amazing.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, I'll just a few more things here. I guess, how are you inspired by your work? And I'll go to Dabika for a moment, and then we'll jump over to Kiyomi. How are you inspired? Yeah.
Yeah, I think as an artist that keeps changing, because every I have so many phases where different things, different people around me inspire me. I think at the moment, the past year, what's inspired me the most are my students. Like I said, they forced me to be better. They forced me to develop push me to develop a new perspective on things, to look at music differently. And another thing that's really inspired me is being intentional with whatever I do, which I also kind of touched upon before. Just being very intentional in what I'm doing. Why am I singing this note? Why am I singing it this way? Why are my shoulders placed this way? So just focusing on every little nuance and asking yourself why you're doing this. Is that something you want to do? So just focusing on the intentional part of things. That always keeps me inspired, because I'm constantly asking myself these questions about who I want to be as an artist. I hope that answers your question.
It does, actually. Just part B of that, I guess. Can you think of a student of yours right now, perhaps, that's inspiring you?
Definitely. I actually had one of my students who reminded me of how I was when I first started learning music, which was crazy, because it felt like I went back in time and just like looking at myself in a mirror. But so she loved music so much, she was so scared to make mistakes, and she loved it to the point where she didn't want to make any mistakes. And so she had an audition I know, she had an audition and she had a whole meltdown. She started crying and she was like, oh, I don't want to mess up. I know I'm going to mess up. And I said, but that's the point. That's the whole point. You make mistakes, then you get up and you learn. And that's how you have to constantly keep getting up. You fall 7 times, you stand up the 8th time still. And it was so hard for her to understand, because that was me as like a young learner too, just so scared to make mistakes, but they're so important. And so she really inspired me in the sense that I realized that, wow, I've come such a long way, and everyone's been there. There's a first time for everyone. And it was really nice, because I was trying to explain to her that this happens to everyone. Like, I've been there too. I know you're coming to me and you look up to me and you think I'm this amazing musician who has it together, but that's not true. Like, I have been there too. I have cried before performances too. Everyone's been there. So yeah, that was crazy. It was like looking at myself, talking to myself when I was 13 years old.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you. Kiyomi, what about yourself? Is you don't want to teach at the moment, but you are teaching without you officially putting that hat on. People are watching you all the time. We're all teachers in life. Where's an inspiring moment for you in your work that you do, whether it be through dance or, other avenues?
So like, what inspires me?
Yeah, whether it be a young person out in the audience watching you, a community member who runs up to you and in awe and, oh my goodness, you're so beautiful. Or,
So,
yes.
yeah, when I'm done like my presentation, when I like receive the round of applause, or like people come up to me and say thank you, that I gave them the chills or like tears or something like that, that inspires me. It makes me want to keep singing, keep doing what I do, because I like it when like I touch people's heart. But like also what inspires me too is like watching Grammys or AMAs, reading biographies. That all inspires me, because I learn of other artists past and like how they became who they are now. That like teaches me what I shouldn't do, what I should do. It inspires me.
Very cool. That's awesome. Thank you so much. I know there's a few more questions we can ask, and we have a little bit more time, about another 10 minutes with each other. I wondered if we could, let's see, tell us about your performances for the upcoming Inclusive Youth Festival. And I'll go over to Dabika for a moment. And if I could just remind our viewers, it's upcoming on November, let me just get the dates here, Saturday, November 28th and Sunday, November 29th from 6 to 9 p.m. And please check these performers out. And I'm going to start with Dabika. What kind of performance can we look forward to seeing from you in the Inclusive Youth Festival?
So I'm actually singing 3 songs. I'm singing, I know, it's exciting. I'm singing an R&B song, which is Goodbyes by Georgia Smith. I'm singing a soft rock song, which is Vienna by Billy Joel. And I'm also singing a Bollywood song. It's called La Duba. It's composed by Rocha Kohli. I know. And I think the repertoire is basically a hybrid of all the training I've had in diverse styles, because it covers rock, it covers R&B, which is what I'm focusing on now, and it also covers Hindi. So I'm really excited for you guys to hear it, just because I think it's a mix of different kinds of songs, and each of them have their own little journey to them. One is a love song, one is about motivating yourself, and the other, Goodbyes, is actually saying goodbye to someone you did not get the chance to say goodbye to, and they're not there anymore. You just cannot say goodbye to them. So they're all really beautiful songs. Yeah, and I hope all of you guys like it.
Wow. How did you choose them then?
Honestly, I think I just chose, good question. I think I just chose all of them on the basis of what fits my vocal tone right now, what fits my vocal aesthetic right now. So just on the basis of that.
And there's a crossover of love through it. But if you could break down the 3 songs again, the first one being?
The first one is Goodbyes by
Goodbyes.
Georgia Smith.
Mhm.
And there is Vienna by Billy Joel. And
Yep.
we have Le Duba by Rocha Kohli.
And La Duba, what is La Duba about?
So Le Duba actually means that it's consumed me. I'm drowning. So it's essentially like I'm drowning in your love. Your
Wow.
love has not drained me, actually, just consumed me. So yeah, it's a really beautiful song about how your love for someone is completely consuming you, and that's all you can do, all you can think about.
That's very cool. Thank you. Kiyomi, what about yourself for your performances? What do you have?
Well, I'm going to be singing a couple of songs, a few songs, but I'll tell you one song I'll be singing. The other ones are surprises. Yeah. So one song I'll be singing is "Killing Me Softly" by Roberta Flack. I'm sure you guys know the song.
Yes.
Yes, you know.
Are you with it? Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna be singing that one. And
why did you choose that one?
I chose it because I like the beat. It's something different. I don't sing that type of music a lot. But I like the meaning behind the song. Yes.
And what type of music is it for Davika? Are you familiar with that song? Killing Me Softly with the song? Yeah.
I am.
What is that? What's the genre of that?
I would say it's pop.
Yeah.
I think it is pop, but it's also really nice. It's also about love. And yeah, it's a really nice song, very meaningful.
Oh, yeah. No, that's. And the other surprise ones, can you do any teasers?
Teasers? No.
Oh, no.
You guys have to watch it.
That's amazing.
I hope you guys enjoy my presentation.
Even better. I love that. When you're talking about not getting a chance to say goodbye to someone, I think of this one song that I learned as a child, Sukiyaki, and it was about a Japanese song. It was about saying goodbye to someone, not really being ready as well to do that. And I just really stuck in my brain singing that in Japanese. And I love that song, and it's just in my heart and has been in my whole life, actually. So you just, yeah, I think of children and instilling opportunities to sing in other languages as well too, and teaching and performing, and how cool is that? And I used to do that with my class as well. Yes, we were teaching English, but I think it was very important to honor the first language as well. And so to have the collective learning all these languages together was just so invigorating and so uplifting and energizing, because music is so universal.
Definitely. I think it's also sorry, go ahead.
Oh, please, I actually had finished, so.
I think it's also a great way to learn a new language. For me, when I speak in English, I have an accent, but when I sing in English, for some reason, I don't have an accent. Yeah. And I don't know why that is. Like, I'm trying to figure out the mystery. I've been trying for a few years, but I don't know. That's what it is. Pretty interesting.
Yeah. It is, isn't it? Yeah, very cool. Mm-hmm. When you're singing in other languages, do you hear any accents or?
No, I don't hear any accents when I sing in Spanish or in English. No, because I'm fluent in Spanish. So yeah, I don't have accents there.
Wow, I like that. I love it. I love to sing in other languages, even though I may not be fluent in it, but I really get this charge of being able to do that. And because you do learn so much in a conversation, you can hear repetitive words and think, oh, I recognize that, and incorporate it as you go. And it's so cool when you can do that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Well, I'm really looking forward to the performances for sure. A couple more things here. So if you were, let's go with advice for a young person who may wish to pursue this but not have the resources to do so. What would be a way for a young person to find opportunities in their community to perform, to learn how to be an artist, etc.? Who would like to go first?
I'll go.
Okay, go for it.
I would recommend going to like churches and signing up heard like their choir, that's a good place to go. Also, for example, other choirs like school choirs, university choirs, those all help.
A neighbor, you know, someone that's been trained in that field, or maybe not trained, but they have those skills as well too, perhaps. Yeah, because that is sometimes the barrier, right, for people to pursue the arts. They don't always have the opportunity to do so in an extracurricular kind of way.
Yeah, or also like the support. Many family members don't support like the person that sings, or doesn't like support their dream, help them get what they want, like accomplish what they want. And well, it's important to like kind of ignore those negative comments and always think positive that you're going to get there, that you can be whatever you want to be, do right decisions, pick right decisions. Yeah.
Thank you. Yourself? What about
Yeah,
you?
I think there were some really great points by Kiyomi there. Signing up, just looking at what your community has to offer, if you can go beyond that. But I also think now with the internet, we have so many opportunities out there. Just keep practicing, pursuing an art, any kind of art form doesn't essentially mean that you need to. I mean, of course, performing and getting out there is a part of it, but also practicing is a huge part of it. And if you keep doing that as well, opportunities may just show up to you just because that's how skilled you are. So there's so many different ways you can pursue something. It could also simply mean upskilling yourself constantly, every opportunity you get.
Would that then tie into words of wisdom for a youth artist of today? What would be some words of wisdom you could give them? So part B of that question, I guess, really.
Yeah, I think I would definitely say show up for yourself, show up for your artistry, your art, and don't give up. The most important thing is to not give up, and you have to keep practicing. And you can't let challenges intimidate you. You have to let them inspire you. And just like changing that little perspective every time you hit a dead end, instead of giving up or thinking, oh, this is too much. Instead, letting it inspire you, think creatively, how do I get past that dead end? I think that's something I would let the youth know, because I think that's something that I would have loved to know as a young learner.
Thank you very much. Kiyomi, what about yourself? It is sort of something we've talked about throughout the whole show, but what are some of your words of wisdom for a young performer starting out for today? Same thing in mind as yourself. They want to be famous. They want people to recognize them as well.
Yeah, set goals and don't postpone anything. Set goals, like daily goals, not like future goals or like yearly goals. Daily goals, I find that very important, because there's a lot of things you can do like in a day, and a lot of people postpone things, saying that, oh, I have the rest of the year, the rest of the week, and a lot of times like the year ends and you didn't do anything, then you're frustrated. So I think it's important to set daily goals and do what you have to do and not postpone.
Nice. I like that. Thank you. And if someone wanted to search for you on social media, is there a way for them to look for you, Kiyomi?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram at Kiyomi Vegas. And yes, I also started a small business, my
For
own
example?
business. Yeah, it's Kiyomi's Tea Shop. It's on Instagram as well.
Tell us more.
Well, I make and sell baked goods, healthy baked goods. So like cakes, brownies. Yeah.
Oh, that
Muffins.
is so cool.
Yes.
Yeah, entrepreneurs. Youth entrepreneurs, I love it. It's just such a charge. Very cool. So any other parting, thoughts before I wrap up with a final comment for our viewers and listeners? Anything you'd like to shout out? And Davika, how could somebody get a hold of you?
Yeah, for sure. You can also find me on Instagram at Viveka Konduja, and you can see my name spelling right there, just in case. It's not the easiest spelling, yes. But yeah, and for sure. And I post covers too, and you can check out more of my music and upcoming music on there. Yeah, and that's pretty much it.
If anybody wanted to hire both of you, actually, Davika, could they hire you for an event?
For sure. You can also reach me on LinkedIn at Dabika Kanduja as well, and email me or even send me a message on Instagram for collaborations.
And you're teaching online right now as well?
At the moment, I am not. I'm not teaching at the moment, but yeah, I am a teacher. So for sure, if you are looking for a teacher, you can definitely reach out to me. I'd love that.
And as a performer, we appreciate you highlighting where they can get a hold of you. Kiyomi, yourself?
Of course, I do sing at events, and I love to. You can, whoever's interested, can DM me on Instagram at Kiyomi Vegas.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, my friends, thank you so much for joining us today, and be sure to watch these lovely performers for the Inclusive Youth Festival upcoming on November 28th and November 29th. We have some surprise performances and some others we've talked about here today. I wanted to remind everybody that Youth for Change is all about inclusive youth, inclusive communities, and please feel free to reach out to us at lynn@youthforchange.ca should you have an idea for a show, or you'd like to perhaps offer a performance for the show, perhaps. Feel free to reach out. It's all about inclusion and celebrating all of our communities. And thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you again. 1,000 thank yous.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me as well.
Thank you. You as well. Thank you. Bye, viewers.
Bye.